I'm just wondering now if you can maybe even turn around and just have a quick conversation, introduce yourself, and think of a time in your life where you actually had to pick yourself up. If you're able to share, you don't have to share too intimate details, but a time where you struggled and had to pick yourself up and start all over again. And that could have been moving to Dubai, for example. Many of us are here from afar, and you started a new life, you picked yourself up, and you said, I'm going to start all over again, I'm going to start a new life. What motivated you? Let's just take 1 minute. I've lost my timer, so I will stop you in 1 minute, okay? If you mind just turning around. Okay. Thank you. Let's develop and explore this picking yourself up and starting all over again. I'd just like to introduce myself first. I'm Maggie Wright. I'm the Director of Education for the Talim group of schools. And in the Talim group of schools, we have 11 schools. Hopefully you've recognized some of these schools. Our teachers and leaders are here today, so please introduce yourself and have a chat with them with regards to what we're doing with regards to happiness and leading without a title. So I'm going to get to that. This whole session is about how to develop grit by leading without a title. So just a bit of my own background, because I think it's really important. You shared a bit about yourself and why you're here and how you pick yourself up. I think it's important to reflect on your own experiences. I've been 30 years in education all around the world, as you can see, and worked with different curriculums, international as well as national curriculums. Because it doesn't matter where you land yourself in what country, you're always dealing with the national curriculum of the government, even if you're offering an international curriculum. And where did I start? I started as a teacher, primary school teacher, teaching grade 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So that's where my humble beginnings start, and I just wanted to let you know that that's where my thoughts and experience come from. In preparing for the day and thinking about KHDA Happiness, What Works, I just want to remind you of what the KHDA has shared with us. Happiness is where first-rate teaching and learning begin. Happy students learn more, retain information better, happy teachers teach better, and happy parents engage more positively with their children's education. So I want to explore how grit leads to success, that academic and personal success, and propose that feeling and being successful in life makes us happy. Okay? So that's where this is coming from today. Having success and feeling success, achieving those long-term goals makes us happy and feel like we're living well-lived lives. Okay? Sorry, just to come back to the books and resources I'm going to use. We looked at Robin Sharma, the leader who had no title, and that's where the whole notion of lead without a title comes from. So I've been following Robin for the past 20 years, as well as Carol Dweck, Mindset. So if I'm just leaving these resources up there in case you want to jot them down. Also took a look at what education is saying and psychology is saying. So Angela Lee Duckworth, some of you might be familiar with her TED Talk on grit, the power of passion and perseverance. And I've just come across Vicki Davis, who's an educational blogger and teacher, talking about how we teach grit. So I'll share with you some of those resources as well. So today we'd like to take a look at what grit means to us, look at real-world examples. We started with Diana Krall. We want to look at how leading without a title can help us develop grit and develop ways in which we can develop grit with our students. And I'd like to remind you of the learning skills. All of you are probably fully aware of this in the UAE inspection framework. So let's take time to engage, interact, apply the learning to real-world outcomes, and hopefully innovate as we go along and construct new meaning together and explore the research as well. But let's set the context first. We all work in the UAE, and we know that there is a national agenda, a national innovation strategy. We have the UAE vision for 2021, as well as the national agenda. So it's important to remember where we are, the context in which we're in, and think about how grit can actually help us achieve the national agenda and our vision for 2021. And also think about why grit is essential to the new generation, to the generation of new and creative ideas and the use of improved approaches. This is the definition for innovation in the glossary of the inspection framework. And also think about what are the skills, sorry that doesn't come out very well, what are the skills that our students need to be innovative? How does grit help them? Okay? Look at the learning outcomes of student achievement with regards to learning skills, social responsibility and innovation skills, teaching for effective learning, as well as curriculum adaptation and the effectiveness of leadership. And then taking a look at KHDA's initiative and innovation with regards to the lighthouse themes. And one of the lighthouse themes that were introduced is resilience. Okay, and I'm going to stretch that to grit. So resilience and grit being synonymous, but different. I just looked up some of the definitions to say, because people say, well, what's the difference between resilience and what's the difference between grit? So I've just copied and pasted the definitions for you. You take a look at resilience. Okay, first of all, we're looking at it as a noun. It's a substance or object that can spring back. Apply that to our life. Spring back and elasticity. Or the capacity to recover quickly from difficulty. So we have a problem in our life and we recover quickly. We pick ourselves up, we get through it, and we move on. But there's a difference between resilience and grit. First of all, some of us might remember grit being stones and pebbles and the grit that gets in your teeth sometimes, or between the stones in the car and the tires. But it's really about courage and resolve, a strength of character. It goes beyond just that opportunity to pick yourself up after one event or one heartbreak. But it's about having a vision, knowing what you want to achieve in life, and following your path from A to B, no matter how many obstacles come in your way, how many challenges or problems, but knowing that if you achieve that goal, it will make life better for you, yourself, your family. Okay? So that's the difference that I can tell from the research between resilience and grit. What I'd like to do is, when you came in, on your desk, I gave you a worksheet here, and I've stapled a quote. You all have different quotes. Just take 1 minute to look at the quote that you were given, and in this think section, connect. Think about what this means to you. How does this relate to grit? Okay, so just take 30 seconds to jot down a few notes about what this quote says to you. Now, once you've had a chance to think what that means to you, if you can share, so maybe stand up. The girls wanted us to stand up. Find somebody new in the room, share your quote, and in the pair section, see if you can come up with a definition for grit based on the two quotes and your own experience. So let's take a couple of minutes to do that, okay? Someone that you haven't spoken to. There we go. come talk to me, this gentleman. This lady here too.
Well, grit is something that you have a passion for doing something, and you just stick to it.
No matter what people says and people laugh.
Because obviously, whenever you take up a new step, actually, I mean, passion is not the same for everyone. Everyone has a different passion. But when you look at the passion of some people, they'll be thinking that it could be weird, it could be absurd for others, but for you, it's your own passion. So just ignore everything and just stick to it.
Yeah.
So that's what I wrote. I mean, stick to whatever you decide and have the passion for the same.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope I'm right in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It really makes a difference for the people. And when you achieve it, you really feel that, yes, you have done something.
Yeah.
I mean, it might not be a great thing, but still, even looking at your own child growing up, it's a passion looking at the child, although whatever stupid thing the child might do.
Exactly, and that huge sense of accomplishment, isn't it? You know, it motivates you. Thank you. Great. Have you all had a chance to think and pair? Yes? Have you all had a chance? Okay. Great. Okay, thank you. We'll keep going. This is an opportunity for you to construct a newer and deeper definition. You can take any one. You can take any one of these and just write on the back if you like. Yeah. No plain paper. No. But you can write them. Okay. So you've had a chance to think about what grit means to you. You've had a chance to talk to someone and share a quote. We're going to come back to the share and develop later. Okay? So keep building this picture of what grit means. I'm not going to show you the video. It's about 6 minutes, and it's really worthwhile to watch. It's 6 powerful minutes that will make you think differently about the power of passion and perseverance. After several years of teaching and researching, Angela Duckworth decided to leave her classroom and go to the university to study motivation and what makes students learn, what makes them successful. Because she found it's much more than IQ. She had students that didn't have the highest IQ or just average IQ, but they were as successful or more successful than some of the students in her class. And she concluded that it had to do with a lot with grit, that motivation to do well and to work hard. It's all about the effort that you put in, okay? And she defines grit as having stamina. Grit is sticking with your future, day in and day out, not just for the week. And how many of us have made a resolution and said, I'm going to do this, and then give up after a week? So it's not just staying with it for a week, not for a month, but for years, not giving up, working really hard to make that future reality. And she ends by saying, grit is like living life like it's a marathon, not a sprint. Okay? So it's a really worthwhile video to give, actually a video to share with your students as well when you're discussing grit and what it takes. I encourage you to do that. So I'm going to get you to stand again. I don't think the girls need to come back. I'm going to keep you going. Let's take a look at Angela Duckworth's 12-point scale, okay, for grit. So everyone stand up. We're going to try and find the grittiest person in the room. So listen to the statements very carefully. Okay? I'll tell you when to, if your answer is yes or no, I'll tell you when to sit or to stand, okay? So the first one, I have overcome setbacks to conquer an important challenge. If the answer is yes, stay standing. If the answer is no, sit down. Okay? Number 2. If the answer is no, sit down. If the answer is yes, so it's a yes or no answer. Okay, great. New ideas and projects sometimes distract me from previous ones. If the answer is yes, sit down. If the answer is no, stay standing. Okay, it's looking at distractions. Okay. Setbacks don't discourage me. If the answer is yes, sit down, stand up, keep standing. If the answer is no, sit down. Okay. Actually, if you sit down, you'd stay sitting down. I'll give you a second chance. My interests change from year to year. If the answer is yes, sit down.
Yes, sit down.
Yeah. I've been obsessed with a certain idea. I'm sorry, it's the wrong one. I'm a hard worker. I am a hard... Sorry, I'm not doing well. I'm a hard worker. The answer is yes, stay standing. Okay. Good. I finish whatever I begin. No, I've been obsessed with a certain idea or projects for a short time, but lost interest. If the answer is yes, sit down. How many of you have been obsessed with a project and lost interest? Okay. I finish whatever I begin. If the answer is yes, stay standing. If you don't finish what you begin, sit down. Okay. I often set a goal, but later choose to pursue a different one. If the answer is yes, sit down. I have achieved a goal that took years of work. If the answer is no, sit down. Stand up. If the answer is yes. I have difficulty maintaining my focus on projects that take more than a few months to complete. If the answer is yes, sit down. I am diligent. The answer is yes, stay standing. Good. I become interested in new pursuits every few months. If the answer is yes, sit down. Okay. Gosh, you guys are really gritty. You are in the right workshop. Please have a seat. Thank you. It's the first time I've tried that, but it's just to get you thinking about the difference between grit, giving up, and sticking with your goals. Okay? And how easy it is for us I have difficulty maintaining focus on projects that take more than a few months to complete. I mean, this is staying in the long term, especially within our work environments. You know, when you think about students trying to complete at the higher end of their education an extended essay and what it takes over a 2-year period to be able to complete that, they need the grit to stick with it. Angela Duckworth also talks about, she thought that one of the best research that's been done is with regards to Carol Dweck and growth mindset. How many of you are familiar with growth mindset versus fixed mindset? I can say from my own experience, when I gave my daughter this book, she had a number of aha moments, and she took it away to university with her, so I don't have it anymore. And she went, okay, I can do this. I can do this, because I think that some of our children over time, they get discouraged because they're not top of the class. And they don't get 100% on the test or 90% on the test. So they think that they're not good enough. But this is the difference between the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. And as educators, we have an enormous responsibility to ensure that every single one of the children within our care develop a growth mindset. And it's about the language that they use to define themselves. The power of language and our thoughts are extremely important. Take a look at the difference between a growth mindset, which leads to success, and a fixed mindset that leads to frustration and failure and learned helplessness. How many have seen children in our class that have just given up? I'm not good at this. I can't do math. And they just give up because they're not given the opportunity to achieve success. And then take a look at the ones that have and develop that grit. They didn't necessarily come in with the highest IQ, okay, or experience, but they stuck with it and they learned because they knew that they could learn from their mistakes. So we need to provide children with opportunities to make lots of mistakes in a safe and caring environment where they can develop this successful mindset and think, I can learn anything I want to, instead of I'm either good at it or I'm not, and give up. Look at the difference in the language, how powerful this left side is. When I'm frustrated, I persevere. I like to challenge myself. When I fail, I learn, instead of when I fail, I'm no good. Okay? So think about that when you're working with your students. This is another image I found with regards to the growth mindset. And it's those positive habits through thought and action that form grit. It's okay, we've been up and down. It's great, you don't have to. It's fine. Thank you so much. Are you guys all right with that? So take a look at this pyramid. You know, it starts with this, well, the fixed mindset is, you know, I'm good as I am. I don't need to grow. I don't need to learn. But you've got this vision and intense goal. And then there's hope. I believe it's possible. I can achieve this. And then you start about making a plan to help achieve it. You're patient, because there has to be times of it, not yet. Just because it doesn't happen tomorrow, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Showing courage, great effort, and hard work. It just can't happen overnight. There's no magic pill to achieving your long-term vision. For any of you who's ever tried to lose weight, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes determination. We need to learn, and this is a critical one for our kids, and even for all the people that we work with, because schools, we're innovating, we're trying new things, there's new curriculum, there's new opportunities, and sometimes we fail. So we need to reframe that. We need to learn from those mistakes and those failures, and we have to provide children with opportunities to learn from those mistakes and failures. And what many of us are calling, you've probably heard, mastery learning, okay? Don't let a child leave your classroom without getting it. So if they fail a test, get them to write it 10 times. I don't care, write the same test, but get them to the point of feeling success, that they know that you're not going to give up on them. That persistence, the resilience is adapting, being flexible, that mental toughness, and then being able to reflect on your learning and lessons, either the lessons that you have learned or the lessons that others have learned. So now take a minute, get up and find someone else in the room, and take a look at the share box. Think about something that you've just heard or sparked a connection for you with regards to growth mindset. Share what have you learned about growth mindset and how it's related to grit. Okay, so we'll take 2 minutes. If you want to stay seated, that's fine, or you can get up and meet somebody new. Shared a quote with somebody else, the pair, and now the share is thinking about fixed growth mindset. It's one thing to say grit and define it and actually understand it and see examples of grit, but then how as educators do we teach grit? How do we help kids develop grit so that they can stick to their goals, okay, overcome all of the challenges? Well, Vicki Davis, have you ever heard of Edutopia? It's a blog. I've just found it recently, and she gives us some examples of how you can teach grit, how you can work with students of all different ages. So I encourage you to go on to Edutopia and take a look at some of these resources, but I'm just going to share a few. One of them, when she says talk about grit, it's about using the 12-point scale. She said it's very powerful looking at the 12-point scale. There's actually a survey that you can do, and you could score it and find out how gritty you are and then look to develop in what area. You can set a target. You can set a goal based on those 12 points. Reframing problems is taking a look at stories. There's wonderful stories and books and literature that we can share with children with regards to characters showing real grit and determination and sticking with it. So talking about it, using the language will help them look at how do we solve this problem? What's the opportunity here? What can we learn? And the other one is living grittily. And that's all about us. It's about us as educators being real role models, sharing our own life challenges and personal experiences and stories and our own passions with children to help them learn from us, because we're their greatest teachers and role models. We spend lots of time with them. So share our own lives and share the ways that we've overcome great challenges. And the last thing I'd like to do is share with you the Leader Ed No Title, and share with you some of the work that we're doing at Talim with our students. I've got some videos here for you to show how we're developing leaders without titles, how we're teaching children to take responsibility for their own actions, and we call it absolute personal responsibility. This book, if you've ever heard of it, The Leader Ed No Title by Robin Sharma, is about 4 leadership lessons. The first one is you need no title to be a leader, okay? That any person, no matter what their position in an organization or in a school or in a classroom, can show absolute personal responsibility and show up at 150% each day. Every single person in the room can be a CEO of their job. And within that lesson, there are 5 leadership or lead without title LWT behaviors. Innovative, being a master of your craft, being authentic, showing grit. Robin's used guts in the book, but I've changed it to grit because he speaks a lot about grit. And then ethics, that moral code about what helps us make the decision between right and wrong. So there's 5 leadership behaviors that we can work with our students. The other one is, and I like the acronyms, it's image, spark, human, and shine. The other 3 lessons are turbulent times build great leaders. All of us are dealing with change all the time. New direction, new objectives, new regulations. And it turns our life upside down. We know that. But having the mental attitude of WTOH, what's the opportunity here? How can we solve this problem together? And what can we learn from it? Helps develop grit. So this opportunity to speak with candor, talk about issues openly, okay, helping students look at the issues from different perspectives. Prioritize what needs to be done first. Understand that every adversity brings opportunity. Okay, you don't have to be afraid of problems or issues. And learning how to respond versus react, stopping, pausing, and learning to think about the most appropriate response. And this kudos for everyone is celebrating the journey and what you learn from each other. The 4th is the deeper your relationships, the stronger your leadership. And it's all about the people that you surround yourself with, your influences. Have anybody ever heard, I don't know if anyone else's mother said this to you when you were a child, but it rings true for me, is tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are. Has anybody else heard that? Who do we surround ourselves with? Do we surround ourselves with people that lift us up and inspire us to achieve greatness? Or do we surround ourselves with people that actually bring us down? Okay? Do we waste a lot of time on Facebook and Twitter and watching TV and being distracted and being busy? Or do we actually focus our time and our energy on achieving great things in our personal life, in our careers, in our family lives? So looking at the importance of developing those relationships and creating this, what Robin will talk about as a pristine bubble of perfect influence around you. Okay? And then the 4th lesson is be the best in the world, and this is all about mastering who you are. It's about staying true to your vision, staying true to your values, and making sure that you take every day as an opportunity to grow in that greatness. And it's important to see clearly, know what your vision is. And I love this about health as well. So many of us forget to bring real balance into our life. So it's really important, despite your goals, that you focus not only on your career goals, your academic goals, but your family goals, your health goals as well. So Robin will say, grit is about believing you have the power. And the number 1 way to lose your power is to think you don't have any. We have the power to be the most positive people we know. We have the power to shift from making excuses to achieving results. You have the power to get really fit today or get the financial life that you want. You have the power to go out in the world and inspire people no matter what your title. You have the power to use your work to birth creativity into the world and to create greatness. And that's what this presentation is really about. It's about taking back that power. It's about looking at your success and your personal happiness and making sure that you are prepared to do that genius level work. He says the number 1 reason we don't achieve success and we actually resign ourselves to mediocrity is because we don't show grit. We don't have that power. We give up our power. Okay? But most people can't see that. He says that grit is the ability to stay true to your vision. Researchers say that number 1 defining factor is whether we become successful or average is this word grit. Grit is the ability to stay true to your vision and not dilute it and not allow people that laugh at you to stop or to make you think differently about what you're trying to do. What the ordinary person sees as failure, the master sees as part of refining their craft and actually using these failures to learn lessons and to experience success. He says you've got to have grit because every time you get up, There's certain things that happen in your brain. New neural pathways begin to form. Every time that you get up after a failure, you develop a new muscle memory. And every time you get up after a failure, you develop more confidence. Every time you get knocked down, you develop more experience and more inner power. What I like to, I'm just looking at the time here, I've got a few videos that I'd love to show to you. These are quite raw and real. They're of our grade 4 students. I'd like to introduce Shaima. Where are you, Shaima? There you are. Shaima is actually the grade 4 Arabic teacher for the primary school, and she's worked with our grade 4 students at, here we go, at Greenfield Community School. And after their assembly, they took a look at what absolute personal responsibility means to them. Can you hear?
I'm not good at this, you should say, what am I thinking, what am I missing? And if you say this is too hard, you would say this may take some time and effort. If you say I made a mistake, mistakes help me learn. It's good enough. Is this really my best work? It says here that it's just like about that you should like kind of believe in yourself and the rules for being amazing, and then no quotes. Be the kind of leader that you would want to follow. This is the role reflexive technique we're going to be doing today. So first thing you do is roll the dice. Then pick it up, and then use hands. And then go to it. What sense to be made? Now whenever I'm a leader, I will always take absolute personal responsibility, APR. Most leaders have responsibility because you can't just let everybody do your job. If you have a really important presentation, you can't just forget your papers at home and not do it.
Just a short little clip. This next one is with grade 11 students. They did the whole 50-hour course. It's a blended online learning course, so they had 3 days with me full-time, face-to-face, taking a look at what leadership means. So this is just one section, and they're actually focusing in on elite performance behaviors. So, and I want to show this to you because I think as a result of participating in this course, they've actually developed this grit and this stamina, this high-performing team. It's our first graduates of the IB program. They're going into they're into grade 12 now. So this is when they're in grade 11. And this is some of the takeaways from the course. Oops, if I can get that.
Okay, so the things that you're scheduled to get done. So it's really important to be with your schedule to achieve realistic targets and keep yourself motivated. We have to use 24 hours in a day as efficiently as possible to achieve our goals and also to make change in our lives. So it's important that you set specific time slots and time periods to get each task done so that you stay motivated and you always have something to do. Also, don't forget to schedule some time for relaxation, reflection, and inner development. And once you make a schedule, you should keep adding new tasks to the schedule so that you always have something.
Number 3 is your environment effective activity. So we should always be around people who push and inspire you, not put you down and distract you. So, for example, a study group. Even when I have study groups, I don't put myself around people who are getting distracted. I put myself around people who are going to help me, inspire me, let me do my work. Not someone who's going to push me away from my work. Now, another example would be in an environment that's away from distractions like technology such as smartphones or games. So always, when you go, for example, to study again, always have distractions such as your phone, games, anything like that, away. And an example for me is sometimes I'll be studying or doing some homework, and then I'll get a message from someone telling me to do something, and I waste my time and I don't do any of my study. What I should be doing is putting away all distractions so that I can focus on my studying and my learning and progress.
Have a neat and organized workplace. When you are organized and you have a neat place, it's easier to reach the items you need for your studying, which help you to provide better effort and
This and you transform your career. And what this is basically about is
Sorry, there's a little bit more there, but the students say it much better than I do. But there's, I just want to say thank you because there's a whole bunch of people out in the hall waiting for the next session. Sorry we got a little late, but this last session was just about sharing what you've learned and how to develop grit with your students. So have a wonderful day. Enjoy the rest of KHDA What Works Happiness. Take care.